Hello there, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is at your side. Mr. Automation back with the video on Terraform and Azure, and specifically storage account creation. Let me share my screen. Yeah, like this. And I get our fantastic drawing here again. And last time we deployed some VNets with some subnets in it, and now we're going to deploy a storage account. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell basically. So here I have a main TF file to deploy a storage account, and the same as the previous videos or demos I gave on the resource group and the VNet, we're using the same principle here, exactly the same principle. We have a state file, we have a provider file here where we specify the backend. We have a variables.tf where we specify the variables we want to use in our main TF file, right? And then we have development and acceptance TF-var files for overriding the defaults, which are empty. The defaults here in variables are empty, and basically from here we override that. And in this way we can have one state, one Terraform file that can target specific different environments, and basically using different values. So whatever needs to be variable, you can make it a variable. Some things are hard coded in my examples because it makes no sense to move them if the value is the same across all the environments that I have. But if you have, of course, exceptions there, you can play around with that. And exactly we're going to do something like that as well today. So we're going to make some differentiations as well. If we have time for it, let's see. Main TF, little bit explanation, not too much. I always want to explain what you see, otherwise for some people it makes no sense, right? For others this is like peanuts, but for some it's not. So basically what we do here is bind to an existing resource group we already have in Azure. I have a resource group, of course. I'll show that. It's called here development. If I refresh that, I currently have no storage account, but I do have a resource group. And basically here we bind to that resource group based on the variable that we get, and that comes from this file. We have here a RG name that's here via the variables translated to this. There is some duplication there, and basically inside of your main TF you then refer to that value, right? And this is environment specific. So on acceptance we use a different value there. And we store that here in a data object, and we can refer to that in a later step, and I'll show how that works as well. And next step, we bind to an Azure subnet, exactly the same way. We give it a name as well, so we can access it later, in later steps, to refer to it, like we're going to do in the next step. So here we have the resource of the storage account itself. Here we give it the name of demo storage inside of the Terraform state. And then here we set some properties. And some of the properties are based on data from the previous step. Like this one, for instance, is getting that from the subnet. This one is getting it from there as well. And as we can see here in the private endpoint creation, you will also see the same stuff. We have some properties here. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's not that complicated, I would say. So here we create a private endpoint. Here we specify some values for the properties. Here we actually expand the value first and then append this to it. You can of course also use a different mechanism, but I just use this way of expanding the string. Here the same private service connection, and it depends on, very simple. And with the mechanisms we have here, the TF-var files, we can then make it usable for different environments. Enough talking. Let's deploy the storage account. Let's see where we have it. We have it here. So again, in my last video I showed you I have a basic wrapper script here, very simple. Accept some input, what you want to do, what you want to run. You specify the path where the Terraform main.tf file lives in, and basically then the script picks it up and knows what to do. So in this case we're going to do an apply on the storage account for the development environment, as you see down here on the screen. And let's press enter, And if you check now the resource group, we have nothing. And if this creation process finishes, I do expect us a storage account with a private link enabled on it. Okay, seems the creation process finished. So let's go to the development resource group here. And yeah, there we have our storage account and also our private link. Now let's see in which network it's located, IP configurations. You can see here it's in 10.0.5 network. And if we go to our resource group, we have our VNets and we have our subnets. And that we have our Windows subnet. And there you can see that that range corresponds to what we have, to what we saw on the storage account. Okay, perfect. Let's now run the same step for the acceptance environment. So let's show that as well, that we don't have that yet. That was a mistake for me, hang on. Resource groups, acceptance. And then in acceptance we don't have a storage account yet. So we're going to create that with the same command line, but just specify a different environment. So now it's not development, but it will be acceptance. I can actually size this up. Not sure if it's needed, but let's do it for the sake. So let's run it on acceptance now, the same code. Press enter, and then we wait. As you can see, it actually created the workspace as well here in the back, the workspace for acceptance. Okay, there we have it. Let's go to our acceptance resource group, refresh, and here we have the same. I'm not going to click everything. You believe that it works, of course. So we have that now, and let's go back to this storage account, and let's imagine, for instance, that we want to have this public network access that's currently hard-coded to false inside of the main.tf file. Just imagine that for development we want to have it on false or on true, and on acceptance on false, something like that. So let's try to figure out on how to accomplish that, right? So first step is to go to the variables.tf and provide the variable for this network access thingy, however you want to call it, and let's create that here. So we can do a variable, and then we give it a name, and I want to make it a little bit so public access, I would say public access enabled. That's good enough, I would say, right? And the type is type. I said type will be a boolean. And we can give it a description as well. If you want to enable public access or not. Okay, so that's the description. So now basically this value we also need to specify now in this dev.tf file. And for development we set it to true, I think, right? Okay, development true. Then for acceptance, we're going to set that to false. And then inside of our main TF file, we need to now refer to var dot public networks access enabled. Right? So now we get that value based on the environment. And let's run it. Let's see what we get, right? So let's see if I run it again on the development environment, what kind of changes we will get. And we do it on acceptance as well after that. So here we can see that it will actually change this public network access enabled from false to true for the development environment. And for the acceptance environment, if we run it, we should not have any change because the value is still the same, right? It was false before and it will still be false. So let's see. Okay, as you can see, it modified one resource there, did change something. Let's now run the same on the acceptance environment again, and it shouldn't change anything there. And as we can see on acceptance, it didn't change anything. Let's see if we can do something more interesting. I think if you go to, where is it? I think it's somewhere here on storage. Let me find it, because it's always like a It's not the best interface, I would say, but it is what it is. Let's see this property here. Yeah, I think this one default tier access is now on hot on acceptance, and it's and on development as well. And we want to have it on hot on acceptance and cool. I think that's the other value you can choose. I'm not sure what it is. Here, hot and cool. So we can cool or hot. So basically, we're going to provide some faster storage for acceptance that will be hot, and some slower storage for development that will be cool. Now let's see how we do that. Okay, let's go back to the storage account and let's see if IntelliSense will help us. Because basically, if we do enter, we do a control space, we get some options, and one of the options it's the first one as well, that's coincidence, is the access tier. So basically we can specify that, and then let's see, it has no auto completion there, so that it doesn't suggest anything, but we know it's hot or it's cool, right? So for now, let's imagine that we do it hard coded here, right, in the main.tf. Well, that doesn't work, right? Because then acceptance and development will will both get the hot storage, and we want some differentiation there, right? So what we do here first is perhaps go here to the variables and specify a new one for the access tier. Call it access tier, and the type will be of string type. Okay, it doesn't want to cooperate yet. Type string. Type equals string, of course. I'm not assigning anything, that makes no sense. And then description, access tier for the storage account. Okay, put that in. Now we have a variable access tier. So basically what we can do now is remove this hard-coded stuff and do var dot access tier, right? But now we also need to specify that in our TF fast, that lays on top, so to speak. So if you go to development, then we're going to specify these variables and set it to cool, I think we said, right? Cool. And for acceptance, we set it on hot, equals hot. So let's demonstrate that as well. You saw it here already on acceptance. It's already on hot, so it shouldn't make any modification. If we go to the development resource group that we have here, and to go to the storage account and always seek a little bit, and then default access tiers is currently on hot. So let's run this again on the development environment, the storage account. Let's see what we get. And to be clear, for development, of course, we expect it to change to cool instead of hot, what it is now. Took some time for Terraform to figure it out, but as you can see here, hot to cool. So it's going to change this access tier property. I'm going to change it from hot to cool. So let's see when it's done if that actually also has been accomplished. Yeah, Terraform, it says it changed one thing. So let's try a refresh here, and it's now on cool, as you can see here. So we changed the default access tier for the blob service to cool instead of hot for the development environment. That was it. I think 2 examples, that should be enough. We changed some hard-coded stuff here. Two things. This access tier and this network public access. We moved the hard-coded values to the variables here as an input, and then we moved it to the environment-specific var file, TF var file, and that file we feed. Using this wrapper script knows which var file to feed during the Terraform plan and apply step and such, and destroy. And that makes it that this one piece of code can work across different environments. I'm now only specifying 2 resource groups, but use your imaginations. Perhaps you have 4 environments. You have perhaps a production or a pre-production. I don't know, whatever you have. But a test environment, perhaps, so perhaps even more. But you can then use one code set, use some different variables in your TF var files, and make it very flexible, I would say. So you have one piece of code to maintain, Basically, you can still make changes individually as long as it is on a variable base, right? If you change any hard-coded here, it will be, of course, for all the environments. If you want to make differentiations, like I just showed in 2 examples, you can do that. So yeah, use your imagination, and if you're really hardcore, perhaps remove all the hard-coded values that you see here. I think this is it. Let me think. Yeah, I don't want to keep falling into repetition, so this is it for this video. Next video will be the key vault creation process with Terraform, and we're gonna handle the same principles again with the TFRs. We're gonna move some values, perhaps. You see the wrapper script in action again. So I would say stay tuned for the next episode. See ya. Bye.